Hey everybody, we are back again here with Something Wicked Film Festival. And this is going to be a little bit of a shorter panel because we've brought this subject up on a couple of the other panels, so I don't want to flog a dead horse, so to speak, but I'm talking about the production of independent film, and we've got so many independent filmmakers here this weekend. One of those aspects of making an independent movie that sometimes gets overlooked is the cast of the film and how you go about it. These people just don't materialize out of anywhere. So, using your experience in producing films and stuff, how do you go about putting together the right cast for the script that you're making the movie of?
You take your time. You definitely take your time. And why do you take your time? Ultimately, at the end of the day, the entities that are the avatars for your vision, for your dialogue, for the characters that you write and direct are actors. And the way you get actors is by you cast them in these roles. And it's as simple as that sounds. We've all seen it done, well, let's paint with a broad brush here, poorly, especially on an independent, low-budget level. And it doesn't have to be, because you can take your time. And I think a lot of filmmakers don't take advantage of the normal process of casting because they feel like they're outside of that, but that's not true. Most of the agents I know, and even a lot of the casting directors I know, are not only willing but are enthusiastic and love helping up-and-coming low-budget filmmakers. So though a lot of lower-budget filmmakers I've seen over time use social media and to do catalog calls and casting calls, you can use the tools that are put out there for the higher budget films like agents and casting directors. And if you go to them and you're serious about it and you have a good story, agents want their actors working. And the truth of the matter is agents only exist to protect actors from themselves, because we will work for free and we will starve to death because we want to work. So agents know this. So you should, even if you have no money and you have a good story that you believe in, there are actors who will work for nothing and go through the agents, and they will put together packages for you based upon your character breakdown. And again, there are many ways to go about find people. Use friends and family and stuff, but you can go through the normal channels and cast as long as you behave professionally. And that's my 2 cents on the whole thing.
Hey, yes, yes, and yes. But I think the aspect of using a casting director is key, because a lot of people do think, oh, I can't afford it. That's only if I have a really big budget. But I know a lot of casting directors who do, like you said, want to work with up-and-coming filmmakers. And even if you don't have that much, if you have a solid story and if you have characters that they could cast and maybe develop a relationship with you, they're eager to do that, I think. There are other sites. Also, Actors Access is a site that a lot of actors have accounts on.
Absolutely. Yep.
You know, it's free for actors to have an account. You can pay more money if you want to have more photos, if you want to have more videos. And there are a lot of casting notices on Actors Access that are little or no budget. But it gives you more of a process in terms of trying to hold a casting and to send out sides, etc. And also, I get things from my agent, and they say, if you are interested, this is no money.
Yep.
There are certain levels. If you're a SAG-AFTRA actor, you have to work under contract, but there are different levels of contracts that we can work within as well.
Especially nowadays, SAG has really gone out of their way to make sure that we can still do those passion projects. Yep. Whether it's a new media contract that can have completely deferred payment, which means you don't technically have to be paid for it, right? Right. There's all sorts of stuff out there. In the same way that actors want to be noticed by casting directors, I think up-and-coming casting directors want to be noticed by actors. They want their name to be something that's marketable and bankable, right? So I think, especially if you're on an independent production and you're trying to do something from the ground up, look for some of those ground-up casting directors that are trying to build their reputation, because they'll want to reach out to other actors and have that relationship as well. And there's tons of ways to do it. There's some amazing casting directors out there now that work with independent projects. And then, like Rob said, you can always reach out yourself, too, if you're that independent filmmaker that's trying to do things yourself. Part of the thing that I love doing as a director is I love casting. It's one of my favorite things, trying to see what the potential of this character is and what potential an actor can bring to it and how that marriage would work. Being an actor myself, I spend most of my time in that acting community. And they're people I just really want to work with. And I think one of the things about working on any project is it becomes summer camp. You spend a lot of time with somebody. You get to know a person on a deeper level. And it's not like, you know, romantic level always, Rob. But I don't even know what that meant. But it is, yeah. But it is this like working relationship sort of level that is intriguing to get to know someone. And part of that is you want to work with good people that are not only talented but also good people in general. You know what I mean? So for me, when I'm casting a project, I sort of keep that in mind, especially if it's something that's going to go on for weeks or days or months. I don't want to be surrounded by assholes. I want to find people that are good people and good at their job, but also are bearable. You know what I mean? That's something.
One of the other things that we talked about on a couple panels was the importance of, if you're writing and you're directing something, bringing other people in to fill those other slots. And the casting director can do that for you. He or she can bring a different perspective. They'll know other actors beyond maybe the usual suspects that you work with. I think if you're watching a lot of independent film, be it short film, be it feature, start looking at the casting directors and see, oh, wait, this is a project that I really like. This is the kind of genre that I work in, and this person keeps casting those. Well, maybe I need to reach out and develop a relationship. Maybe we have lunch, we start talking about projects, and you develop that, and I think you'd be surprised at what they'll bring in.
Yeah. I also think there's a specific philosophy, too, that I think oftentimes, and this might just be my theory about the whole thing, a lot of times we talk about, oh, well, that actor just really nails that character. That's who I want for that. I don't believe in that philosophy. I believe that a character should be in the realm of that actor's wheelhouse, because I don't want them to ever be exactly what's on the paper. Because if they are exactly what's on the page, then I've taken away their job, and their job is interpretation. I want to see what they add to it, you know what I mean? So when I'm thinking about casting something, I want to see that this person, even if it's an audition, gives me a basis of what I want, but then gives me a little bit more than what I wanted, or something that I didn't see before. And those are the moments that, whether it's me playing the part of a casting director, writer, or director, it gets me excited, because now we have a spark, and now it's new again. Now there's something more for us to build and play with, you know?
And if you're casting a lead role who's going to spend a lot of time on camera, or if you're casting someone who's just has one scene, a day player, a co-star, first of all, don't get seduced by one good take if you're casting. Don't, you know, for many reasons. First of all, if it is a lead character, don't judge their work based upon one small scene. They should have an arc, which means their character has to be changing. Wherever they are at one point, they have to be different at some point else. So make sure that they are directable. Make sure if they can do this, they could also do something that's different, that what you're looking for. Understand what the arc of that character is as a director, if you're doing the casting, and know that, yes, this may be a good place for them to be at some point, but they also have to be something else at some point. Take your time. Make sure they do have, for lack of a better term, range, that they can have different moments and go through different actions and be judged differently. And let's say it is a small part, a small character. It's the TV repairman. It's the cop for one scene. They do one take and you like it. Well, make sure they didn't get lucky doing that one take. Part of acting not only is to have range and to be able to do different things, it's also to be able to recreate and repeat the work you did just now again, in case you're working with a Michael Mann who wants to do it 60 times with 50 different focal lengths, but he wants the same performance. You have to be able to recreate the same performance as much as you have to be able to make changes. So,
and I think too, it's another thing, especially when you're casting leads. If we're working on this independent level where maybe you're getting paid a very little amount, maybe you're not getting paid at all except for food and copies that never come. If you're doing that, the thing that I always like to do is I like to have a conversation with my lead. So you know, give them the audition and give them the script, the complete script. Let them read it. And then I'm going to come back to them and see what they think about it. And then see if we're on the same page. If they're so far off, that doesn't mean they're not getting the part. It's just, can I talk you into what I want you to be? Can we have that conversation so I can make sure you understand where this character is, what this character is? Now, that's a particular advantage because I am often casting and directing at the same time. But it's important for me to know that the actor understands what we're trying to attempt to do, whether it's an overall purpose, whether it's the scene, whether it's that character itself. They don't have to understand every fraction of it the same way I do, but to have a general knowledge. If you're gonna, play a hockey game, you want them to know the basic rules of the sport, right? And that's the sort of mentality that I look at it.
Well, and key to that, as an actor, if I'm auditioning for something and you send me not just sides, but you send me the script, what a gift, because you don't usually get that. And maybe you would have reasons that you don't want to release your whole script. I respect that. But give us enough information that we can start to build that character. Because if you just send me the sides and there's nothing before or nothing after, you're totally leaving it to my imagination. I would say also from just a logistical standpoint, when if you're holding a casting for different roles, to be as professional as possible. You may not have a lot of money, right? But give us the respect as an actor of giving us enough time to prepare, tell us what you expect, put some parameters around it. And there's been a lot of talk in the last year or so, but be respectful of people's safety. Can't have it in a hotel individual room. If you're going to have something at a hotel, it needs to be in a conference room. You need to be respectful and be safe.
Good point. Yeah, especially with the focus now.
And I was going to say too, and this goes for me. It doesn't go for every actor, but I know the longer I have with script, my work improves. You'll see the longer you give me the script, the closer you're going to get to a polished performance you're going to see from me, or something more representative of what I'm going to be like on set down the road. I always found it funny that scripts are in pre-production and in development for so long, and the last person to see any of it is ultimately the people who are putting it up, the people who are going to be judged the most. And I understand why actors are not brought in early enough, because schedules change and things change and you can lose actors. But holy crap, it's the more time we have with the script, the better our work's going to be. The sooner you can get it to me, the actor, again, it doesn't mean I'm going to book it, doesn't mean I'm going to be great, but I'm going to be closer to the work that you may see on set, as opposed to just throwing something at me where I have less time to make choices and to analyze it too. So, and again, if you're having it at a building, make sure it doesn't cost $10 for parking. Actors are broke. We're broke. Yeah. We don't want to pay $10 for fucking parking. Don't make it easier for you. Make it easier for access, because you'll get more actors to show up. Just again, make it easy for everybody. Again, and be professional. It's just you're judging us as the actor. We're also judging you. If we have any self-esteem, we're also judging, do we want to work with you? Do we like the script? Why would I take up a lot of my time, especially here in Atlanta right now, where there is a shitload of low-hanging fruit, and auditions are plentiful for many different categories. They come and go. And hopefully you want me to work on your project, but again, hopefully I also want to work on that project because you have a clear vision of your script. Understand your script. Understand the character you're bringing me in for. Be able to discuss with me the character you're asking me to read for, to be able to talk about it intelligently. And, again, I want to know that you've put in the time, as much time as you expect me to put in as well. And do understand, too, on these lower budget ones, when the SAG rates are, if it's a short film, we can work for nothing a day if we agree to. On the SAG New Media, it could be all deferred. On the ultra-low contract, we can work for as little as $125 a day. But do realize, because there are filmmakers I have come across and have worked with who truly believe that the only time I do work is on set. And that pisses me off. Yeah. Because that is just the culmination of all the work that goes into it. Whether it be days, weeks, or months working that script. If I'm working a script for a month, and I have 5 days on your set, and I'm, before taxes, making, whatever, that's $700, and after taxes and after my 10%, I'm clearing about $400. Divide $400 divided by 2 months, 60 days, or 30 days, I'm making sense. I'm not making any sense, but I'm making sense. And so understand that 125 if I'm working even a couple hours a day on script for you, prior to that in pre-production, we're not doing it for the money. Probably sure as shit not doing it for the craft services. It's got to be for the story. It's got to be because I want to work with you. It's got to be because I want to work with these co-stars, and I want to do this. So,
and I think too, it's one thing that through the casting process, through the on-set experience, all of it, one of the most important things is to make your cast comfortable. Make every person who comes in to audition with you comfortable. That goes from whether it's the hotel situation or whether it's just letting them know you're grateful for them and their time, that they should have a confidence in what you're doing. One of the things that I don't think I'm successful in any aspect of my life, but in one of the things where I think I do okay as far as being a filmmaker and working with other actors is the majority of actors who come in to work on my projects know I'm an actor. So they know I'm going to treat them with the same respect that I, as an actor, would want to be treated with. That I'm not going to offer them a part unless I personally find it interesting. And that all day I'm going to be blowing smoke up their asses, praising them. And I'm going to make sure that I listen to every one of their suggestions, that I try to hear it out, that it is a collaborative thing. And that goes into directing, but I also think it goes into the casting process, where every person that comes in, whether it's an audition, whether it's just us reading or having a discussion about the piece, I want them to know that whether they want to do it or not to do it, I'm not going to take either one personal. I respect their opinion. I respect their boundaries as an artist. I want to hear what they have to say. That made it sound like I do porn. Don't worry, I don't cast for that. Listen,
Don't have to, really.
But that's the thing, is making someone comfortable with your level of confidence in what you're doing, but also in how you treat them. I think if this industry, whether it's Atlanta or Los Angeles, needs something more, it's kindness across the board. And treating others with respect.
Good point. No, that's one of my big pet peeves, and you guys have touched on a couple of things. And looking at it, I haven't cast much. I've been on the receiving end, not on the casting end. As far as that's one job I haven't done much of. But I know as an actor, one, the turnaround time from when I get the script to when I have to have the material back to you is critical. I hate these afternoon sessions that have to be in at 9 o'clock the next morning. It gives you no time to do any kind of prep on it unless you don't want to get any sleep. The one thing, and I don't care whether it's an independent film or even a big budget film, the situation where some casting, and a lot of the casting people in this town I really get along with, I really like. They do a great job. But there are some out there that do it for themselves. They just love that power trip. That's the only way I can describe it. They get off on being the boss and holding that over you. And I don't like to read for those people, and sometimes we'll turn down a role or turn down a casting opportunity because it's that person casting it. And then there are some that send you a 2-page list of instructions for a self-tape where you have to do stuff like grab a person, have them hold their height in front of them, you stand next to them so we can see how you match up with their height, have them identify themselves and their height, and you're making like a major production just for a frickin' audition. I don't work for people like that. Maybe I'm losing jobs, but it's like, you're the casting director, not me. I'm not going to do your job. I'm going to be an actor. I'm going to do the acting job. I'm going to do the preparation. I'm going to show you my interpretation of this role. I'm going to give you that, and I expect a little respect for that work. I mean, you know the people that come in the door that aren't prepared, and they pretty much get out of a casting session very quickly. You can tell them once they walk in the door, and they have excuses, and they obviously haven't read the material and stuff like that. You can weed them out pretty quick. But you don't need to put your good actors through that kind of stuff. That's just my opinion.
I was going to say, I think what some of the things we're talking about here are more attributed to larger studio TV productions and films. The short turnarounds that we get from our agents are often for TV shows for network or Netflix or bigger films, and that's not always on the casting directors. The casting director gets,
no, I understand that.
Is just really getting the avatar for the production company, and often what they're asking us to do is what they're being required to get by the people.
No, but what I'm saying, Rob, is for people that are going to be doing casting for their productions, don't think that's the norm. Don't take that approach to casting, thinking,
Gotcha.
oh yeah, I'm a big time casting guy because I do that and I put my people through that hell. It's like I think this is what you're talking about, Keith, when you're saying we need some more understanding and kindness and respect, and it's a long time coming here in Atlanta.
Well, I think it goes piece by piece. Like I think my point is, especially when it comes to casting, nobody wants to be. I hate the term cattle call because that's offensive to every single one of us, right? Yeah. And to cows. But I feel that like don't treat actors like furniture or like animals or beasts, right? That have the decency to let us get up there and do our work. That's part of it. I do agree that like sometimes some of the casting instructions can be a pain in the ass. I look at it this way. Some directors are going to be technical and some directors are going to be actor-based. Some directors are going to be obsessed with the lighting or the wardrobe. Everybody has their specific thing, and you need to, as a person, be able to work with every single one of them and communicate that way. I hate the ones where I have to have somebody else stand beside me because I just don't like people. But I still do it because, like, I kind of want to be on that show. You know what I mean? And so it's you find those things that are negotiable for you. For me, kindness in the sense of gratitude and appreciation for someone's time, in respecting what they're doing, even if what they're doing isn't good for what you're doing. Sure. Like that's the thing to have. It's whenever I'm doing on sets, when I'm directing, I'm weird. We play games on every one of my sets. And those games range. Like we always have a big safety meeting and all that stuff. But then we either play like a game called the Toy Story game, where at any point I yell, Andy's coming, and everybody has to fall down and pretend that they're like a toy. But it's also, at the end of every day, you have to have told 5 people that they're pretty on every single one of my sets. But it's in this way of like making people smile, letting you know that, hey, we're a family, we're a unit, that sort of thing. And I think that same thing, to bring it back to the point, is when you're casting, you're asking someone to join this family. So you need to find someone that you feel is compatible with that you can not only fits within the concept of what that story is, but fits within the family that you've already established, the filmmakers, crew, cast, all of that stuff. And it's great to have and develop your Sam Raimi unit where you work with the same people, but it's also interesting and invigorating to always bring new people in and try to see that new energy, flair that comes through it. So.
Good point.
And I was going to say, people outside the industry or new to the industry in class will say, what is casting like? What is it like going into, if you haven't been on audition, what is it like in casting? And I say, well, what's pizza like? It's different every pizza place you go to. The room's different, the energy's different, the camera's different. Sometimes there's no camera. The person or people you're dealing with are different. The scripts are different. It's different every room. But ultimately, all it comes down to, and all we control as the actor, is the work. So you may need me to stand next to somebody. Again, that's if you need that, great. You may need me to hold up a sign with all my information. That's fine. We're going to do whatever it is you need us to do ultimately. But ultimately, all it comes down to is our interpretation of the script and what we're doing. Rarely am I asked to do something that's such a pain in the ass or a burden. Every now and then I need to write something down on a piece of paper. I don't remember ever being asked to stand next to somebody.
That's Fox.
Yeah, Cast of Talent does that.
Yeah, it's just one particular group that does that.
I don't recall it.
And there are some that I get, and again, I'm not a hard ass actor. I'm actually pretty easy to get along with. But if you're asking me to do a production for an audition, that's a little hard for me to do. I have a camera that doesn't zoom in and out. So if I don't mind if for a slate you want head and shoulders. I'm used to that, and then a full body shot. That's understandable. You want to see what I look like. I'm willing to do all that stuff. If you need it labeled a certain way, I'm willing to do all that stuff. But when you're saying you've got to zoom in, you've got to do this, you've got to do all that, it's not always easy to find a cameraman to do that kind of stuff on short notice. And if you don't have a camera that does that sort of thing, it still shoots high def or whatever. It's a digital camera, but as a casting person, I think understand that I'm of an opinion, and maybe it's a hard-ass opinion, that if you don't see what you need to see from me and my interpretation of that role, if you don't see from me giving you a full-body shot and a head and shoulder shot what I look like, if you cannot make a decision off of that material and that information, maybe you want to consider another profession.
But I think, and not to argue necessarily, but I think sometimes part of that, what it is to see that you'll follow directions. And it's honestly, I'm doing this radio podcast thing, right? And it's 165 actors, like, in total so far for 16 episodes. And when we were initially sent out auditions, part of our thing that we were looking for was we're going to tell you how to label it and what format to put it in. If you don't put it in that, I'm not going to listen to it because I have so many other people to listen to. Yeah. And so I think a lot of those other instructions at times are so that they have a general format that everybody has to follow. And if you're not willing to submit to that, then maybe they think your mindset is not willing to submit. I'm not saying that's the case, but you know what I mean?
No, I understand.
And so I think, and even as an actor, there's ways to work around. Like if you don't have enough space to do the full body, most heads to cameras have a tilt switch where it dislocates part of the camera plate, so you can tilt it to the side. That's what I do every time for my auditions. But it's every casting director has their own little tricks about what they're asking to promote the specific things for you. And I think as a casting director, I go in with two rules. One, know what I'm looking for. Two, don't care what I'm looking for. And by that I mean I have a specific idea that I have of the character, but I have to be open-minded enough where if somebody shows me a different thing that's better than what I had intended, then I have to go with that. I have to be able to redefine what I think this character is, you know? Sorry, I went off on a tangent.
Let's open it up to the crowd, too. If you guys have any questions out there about casting your production or whatever. Any opinions?
And the word casted is not a real word.
Well, I was going to just chime in with one thing. Going back to kind of helping set up the actor for success, too, I'm just thinking back to the last couple auditions that I had for like a SAG after low budget, ultra low budget. And I didn't always get the script, but there was one particular audition that I remember where they sent a trailer for the short that it was based on, which was really super helpful. And then also sent a trailer, no, actually it was the whole short, I think, that this production team had worked on. So it gave me a flavor for what they had done, aside from trying to scroll through IMDb and see what they had done and figure it out. Easily gave me that reference, and then I could also go back and see the short that it was based on.
And that's an awesome thing, too. Like, with me, again, the vast majority of things I cast, I'm reaching out to people, to actors that I admire their work, I've worked with them before, etc. But in those conversations, it's always important for me to have that conversation. So they can see, I can tell them, these are the things I've done, this is why I'm doing this. And oftentimes with my shorts, it's so that I can learn a specific thing. If it's a feature, it's for, like, we're doing this feature for somebody else, we're doing this feature because we're trying to see whatever. But I want to be upfront with every member of the cast or crew from the beginning so they know what they're getting into, but they also see what my passion of the story is. If they have any questions about it, even before we're talking about script, they can ask of me, because I want to be able to sell the story on the story's purposes, but I want to be able to sell the experience of working with me under my leadership or whatever, which is probably shitty leadership, but on my own value. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to work on this movie for the story, that's cool, but if I feel that the vast majority of people that I get to work on sets are working on it because I've asked them to, because I've convinced them, because I'm passionate about the project, because we're friends, you know what I mean? But if anytime you're working on something, especially if it's an ongoing series or based on something else, giving that actor a reference to what the tone is. Because there's so many times when I've gone into an audition and I thought it was a comedy or I thought it was a drama, and it was the exact fucking opposite. And so that's always a weird thing when you're coming in playing it for laughs and they're like, this is a horror movie. Like,
I had that moment with Tyler Perry in Have and Have Nots. I auditioned for it thinking it was a comedy. I was out in LA, I taped it. They booked me. I got there. The first couple scenes seemed kind of funny. It was Tyler Perry's show. They called me back for a second day, and they rewrote some stuff. And he says, "Yeah, this is the," and it was great. He said, "This is after the scene where you've raped her." And I go, that's not really funny. He goes, "This ain't no comedy, man." I went, "Oh, okay, back to square one. Okay."
He's good about that. Yeah.
You know, but he was good. He was great. I actually had a great experience with him. It was just such a I completely.
But that again goes back to the understanding, making sure we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Especially because like a lot of times I do stuff that's just weird. I made this feature called Dick Ball, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a sports movie about hitting each other in the dick. But it's this weird airplane sort of 70s comedy. But at the center of it, it's a really emotional story about this couple trying to stay together, and there's a miscarriage and all that stuff. And so the idea was to make you look over here at all the zany stuff. And subtly throughout the movie, this emotional through line is creeping up on you, right? And that was our intention from the beginning. And we got every fucking actor in Atlanta, like, to try to be in this movie. And there were definitely people who were turned off by the name of itself. But it's that moment where from the beginning I had to explain to them, hey, there's two worlds we're creating. One's zany, one's real. You're in the real one or you're in the zany one. Whatever. Just come play. Yeah, but it's like, but I think every actor at the end of the day wants to come play, but they just want to know that they're going to be safe.
And I wanted to say, too, if we've been doing this a long time as actors, not that we get spoiled, but there is a certain structure to script. There's a certain there's a certain expectation when we get script that's downloaded from producers or casting directors. There's a certain structure to screenplay form. And if it is not in that structure, if it is just a mess and there are typos and and it's just hard to read because it's not in a normal screenplay structure, we take the project much less seriously. It's hard to get excited about someone who didn't put in the limited time to download what ultimately is free software which structures your screenplay for you. If you're not willing to take the time to structure something correctly, it paints a picture. I see the future.
It's called Celtics, CELTX.
And I see the future.
Freeze help.
And if you can't do that, then you're certainly not going to do your development. You're not going to do your pre-production.
And it's also, if you send me, as an actor, if you send me a 23-page audition or some nonsense like that's, especially if it's I understand that you want me to get all the facets of the character. I get that, even from a writer's standpoint. But if the project is low budget to no budget, 23 pages takes me so much time to prep, and then takes me so much time to film. You have to be, again, that kindness that I was talking about earlier includes consideration, includes making sure that whatever the location is, you know exactly where your actors can park, that you make sure you ask what food allergies they have, taking into consideration all the time, all throughout, what your actor needs, and that you have to assume, I always assume that every actor I'm asking something of has two jobs. That's always an assumption. So that way I'm never asking for too much of their time.
I was going to say, if the actors are as fortunate as we are being here in Atlanta, I have multiple auditions every week. If you send me a 23-page audition, you're not going to be the priority, especially if it's a low-budget shoot. I'm going to work on the 2 or 3 pager that's structured correctly, where I know if I do get it, I will be getting union scale plus 10 or more, and there will be residuals in perpetuity. There are benefits to it, and I'll be going to a casting director who knows me. And it's the workflow it makes more sense.
Yeah, you're going to do the one that you can do the best on.
Send me the 23 pages.
You've got to prioritize, because they do come in during pilot season. You're reading sometimes 10 to 15 scripts a week.
Oh, I wish.
Or auditions a week. No, there'll be that burst in there where all of those TV shows are looking for anybody, and we're all getting reads on all of that stuff.
And I think that consideration has to be, like, if there's something that you definitely need. Actors are also good with understanding there's some shit that's going to be out of our control that's not going to be the ideal. Just a real-world example. Let me talk about Fuckface in the corner over there. No, you. Yeah, he's a large man that could body slam me, so I'm not gonna say anything about him. But so again, we've mentioned a couple times. Next Saturday, we're doing a shoot. Rob's one of the actors in it. Yeah, exactly. So Rob has a shoot on Friday, so I have to be aware that his shoot might run late. So scheduling, I want to make sure that I don't call him in too early because I want him to have enough time for sleep. However, he's a big part in the shoot, so he realizes he's not going to get all fucking day to rest, right? And so at a certain point, he's going to have to suck it up. And that is a perfect illustration of what an actor's mentality is. Give us a little bit of leeway, but at the same time, we know we're going to have to do things that are oh, that's shitty. I got to wake up too early. Whatever. But we're prepared for that. That's a part of our job. You know what I mean? But any kindness that you can show in any department, whether it's casting, whether it's direction, catering, whatever, any kindness goes so much further than you could ever imagine.
All right, guys. Any final thoughts or whatever? We're just about out of time here.
Take your time with casting.
Take
Don't
your
rush
time
it.
to-
Don't
that's
don't
right.
settle. Don't compromise. Don't settle. Those are the people who are ultimately telling your story. So don't settle. Just if you got to push, you got to dig a little deeper, dig a little further. Dig. It's worth it because you're just going to be frustrated. Casting is problem solving. Solve your problems with casting. So.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Yep. Sorry? Go ahead.
I was going to say, hire a casting director.
Yes, I agree. I think that's wise advice. We're at Something Wicked Film Festival, folks. We've got one more big panel yet to come. Hope you join us for that. See you.